Alrighty guys, now I can't fit mine in the screen. It is so big right now. But I asked you to do that one set that we did there one more time and then a second time. Alright, so the first set was the green with the white, the gold half doubles, and then the white doubles. The second set was the red with the white and then the gold half doubles and then the white. So you should have 1, 2, 3 sets all together. We're going to change back to the red. Unless you are doing another set, then you just continue doing your set and meet us back here at this time, okay? But for the rest of us, we're going to start our next stitch in that tight stitch there. Remember, we're just starting when we change our colours. And don't worry about threads, we're going to do those soon, okay? So just drop your one as you would normally do your white, grab your red, and start again. Pull the loop through like so. You know how to do this. You've been changing your yarn all along, but we'll do it anyway. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Stitch marker there. It didn't work. Let's try that again. There. All right, turn your work like normal and do your second double crochet in that stitch like you've been doing all along. So the pattern hasn't changed, and then your double crochets all the way across your piece. Now I don't need to show you that, but what I will show you is, remember guys, to cut your cream or white or whatever you want to call this colour. It's white, unless of course you are going to do another set. All right, so your job now is to do 2 rows of the red, exactly the same as you would have done any other row. Let's just assume you're starting your reds again. So do 2 rows exactly the same. Meet me back here and get ready for pattern change. Don't cut your thread, yeah? Do 2 rows of red, meet me back here once you're done, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of our 2 rows. Asked you to do exactly 2 rows. Now we're just going to chain 1, 2 and 3 like normal. Place your stitch marker in there. But in this row, we are not increasing at the beginning of the row anymore. Turn your work like normal. Ignore that first stitch that you're in now. So big. Ignore that first stitch you're in and jump straight into the very next stitch with a double crochet. And what I want you to do here simply is double crochet into every stitch until you get to, it's pulling now, until you get to your back post. That is going to be a back post in this round, okay? So double crochet into every stitch like normal. Just get to your last stitch near your first back post right there. Gorgeous. Meet me there once you're done and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so I asked you to get to your back post. I have a stitch before my back post. Then I'm going to place 2 double crochets in that stitch. So 1 and 2. And where I was doing a back post, or I'm going to do a back post now because that's the row that we're on, we would normally do a double crochet back post. But what we're going to do here is what I call a half treble crochet back post. So that's yarn over your hook, place it around the post like so, pull a loop through like normal. But in this case, it's yarn over your hook and pull through just 1 loop. Yeah, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So you've still done your back post, but it's a half treble. It's a lot taller than a double crochet, but smaller than a treble. Okay. So what you want to do is go into the very next stitch that we normally go into. Be careful not to go into the same stitch. You're into the next stitch. You are popping 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And this is where we are doing our increase in this round. All right. And we're doing our increase before the half, increase after the half, and the half is now a half treble and not a double. All right. Hope that makes sense. So what I want you to do, I'm going to leave it here. I want you to place a double crochet into every stitch, get to your very next post and I'll show you once again. All right, double crochet into every stitch, get there, and I'll show you what to do once you get there. Alrighty guys, we've done one set there, and I asked you to get to your second post. And I have a stitch before my post I haven't completed because I need to put 2 double crochets in that stitch. 1 and 2. And then in your post, you're going to do your back post like normal, but you're doing a half treble. And that's your yarn over hook like normal, go around the post like normal, pull a loop through like normal, 3 loops like normal, but yarn over and pull through just 1 first. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, ignoring that stitch because that's your post stitch, jump into your next stitch with 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And then it's double crochet all the way across until you get to your post again, and you do 2 double crochets before it, 2 double crochets after it, and a half treble. Don't you love that? And then a half treble in your back post. All right, so a very simple, if you want to turn it over and have a look at it, it looks the same, but it's got more of a point now. It's actually quite prominent now. That's what we want. All right, so go ahead and do that now. Do that round. You double crochet all the way across. A stitch before your back post, you put 2 double crochets, and then you do a half treble back post, and then the stitch after you put 2 double crochets and then double crochet across. All right, so I would like for you to do that now. Meet me back here once you're done, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this row, okay? And what we want to do with our final stitch is just place 1 double crochet into the last stitch like so. Remove your stitch marker, chain 1, turn your work. Alright, and here you want to pop a single crochet US, double crochet UK in the same stitch that you're in, right there. Yep. Hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops, pop your stitch marker in that stitch right there. Quick and easy section, what we're going to do is pop a single crochet US, double crochet UK into every stitch until we get to our front post. All right, so it's hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops all the way across your piece. So simple, simple, simple. Yeah, but what I want you to do is, and this is not working for me today, I want you to, no, it's still not working for me. Come on, Mary, you can do this. All right, I want you to do a single crochet into every stitch, get to your first front post, wait for me there, and we will talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so I asked you to get across to the very first front post here. I've got a couple of stitches to go, so I'm going to do single in my next, single in my next. But when I get to my front post, I'm doing a double crochet front post. So just your normal yarn over your hook, around the post like normal, pull a loop through like normal, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Back to single crochets, no yarn over, into the next stitch with a single crochet, and single crochet all the way across your piece. All right, so all this is done is it's given it a little bit more of a prominent look about it. Now, your job, single crochet, get to your next front post, wait for me there, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so we did that one set, and now I've asked you to do single crochets over to your next post. I have, oops, one more single crochet to go there. And then I have my posts. All right, what I want you to do here is do a double crochet front post. Yarn over your hook around your post, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2, single crochet in your very next stitch and single all the way across. All right, so your job now, single crochet all the way across every section, and when you get to your post, you do a double crochet front post. All right, very simple. Do that all the way through, get to your, somewhere here. It's so big now, isn't it? Get all the way here, wait for me there because we're going to do something else, all right? So do the row now and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, I asked you to get to the end of the row. Get excited. And what we're going to do here is finish off our row with a single crochet in the final stitch. Remove your stitch marker. All right, so what we're going to do here in the same stitch, we're going to do a second single crochet and then pop your stitch marker in that single crochet. Yes, I had to think about that then. Yep. Turn your work and do a third single crochet. All right, and in the next space right there, you're going to do just one single crochet. All right, now that is, you've covered your single crochet, you've covered the top row of your double crochet there, and now you've covered the main post area of your double crochet there. So you now have 2 rows of double crochet, so you actually need 4 stitches across here. So the way you put it in is entirely up to you, but I would go single in that first small space right there, 1, single in your next big space, 2. Go single in your first space of the next row, and when you do your next single in that big space, pop your hook in, just grab your red, leave the white where it is, grab the red and pop it there, and then complete your single crochet. All right, now you want to single crochet in the next 2 rows of the white, which means you need 2 single crochets in there and 2 in there. So once again, you're going to pop it in that first stitch. Now find your white thread and pass it over like so. All right, and you can see I'm just holding it at the back, and complete your single crochet, 1, single, 2. Now in the next row there, it's single in your first stitch of the white, and we're going to do a single in the second, but we want to pass that white thread over as well. Hook in, grab your white thread and complete that single crochet. We're up to our gold. We're going to pop our hook in just one section of the gold. I would say that top section right there. Where's your gold thread? Pop it at the back like you've been doing with your other threads and complete your single crochet. Go into your white, hook in, pull a loop through and do your first single crochet and your second in the big space, your first in that space. Now I have an extra white here. You may not have it, but I do. So I'm going to crochet over my first white. You may not have that. I just had to cut my thread. I think there was a knot in it. Go into the next stitch, pass your white at the back like so. And now we're up to the red. All right. So the red, you once again go into that first stitch. If you've got a thread, pass it over. If you haven't, don't worry about it. There. Into the second stitch. There. Now into your first of the next row. Into the main of the next row. So you've actually done 2 into the first row, 2 into your second row. Remember, we have 5 rows, so you should have 10 single crochets across here. So 4, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 into the big one, right? But grab your red and pass it over like so. Gorgeous. Now here, my white's starting to come undone. Tighten up your threads a little if that happens. So I'm going to go into the small stitch of the white, passing my tail back, and then doing a normal single crochet or completing it. Then into the big space, that's your first row of the white. You've got your 2 singles there, and here's your second row of your white. But on your second stitch, grab your white, passing it over and completing the stitch. Going into the gold, grabbing the tail, passing it at the back, and you're an expert at doing this now. Into the first, remember we have 2 rows of white, so we need 4 stitches across. Into the first stitch, 1, space 2, this is a little tight here, 3 and 4. All right, so so far, that is what you should have. Gorgeous. Now you just continue across the way. 5 rows, you need 10 single crochets, and off you go. Right, we have to do the reds now. Normally we would do 10 single crochets across. We're still going to do 2 per row except that last row. So continue doing your 1 in your first red, 1 and 2 for the first row. And then 1 and 2 for the second row. And then 1 and 2 for the third row. And then 1 and 2 for the 4th row. But for the 5th row, you have this section here. We want to angle that top part. So we're going to do the 1 and the 2 together as one. So what you're going to do is start your single crochet like so. But don't pop it in the space. You need to pop it in the stitch. Otherwise, it will just look a little awkward. So find the top of the stitch there, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook, and you have single crocheted 2 together. All right, chain 1, we're going to turn our work. So we're going to have a 2-row repeat here. So the first thing we're going to do is single crochet the first 2 together. All right, so you pop your hook in the first, pull a loop through like so, 2 loops on your hook, into your second, pull a loop through like so, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, pop your stitch marker in there, like so. Gorgeous. And then you're going to single crochet, easy step, into every single crochet, and you can see it right there, across, yeah? Can't see it, face it towards you, pull it right up towards you, and then do your single crochet. All right, a simple stitch single crochet. You don't need to watch me doing this one, okay, because this one is very simple. You are single crocheting, making sure you don't collect these tails. We'll work on those later. So you are single crocheting all the way across, get to your very second last stitch, if you will. Wait for me there, and we will talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so I asked you to do your single crochets all the way across. Now, at the end of this row, you don't need to decrease, okay? You just need to do a normal single crochet in your second last stitch, a normal single crochet in your last stitch, remove your stitch marker, chain 1, turn your work. All right, now you single crochet in your first stitch like normal because it's the base of your work. Okay. And you single crochet into every stitch until you get to the top. So this is your second row repeat. All right, your first row repeat was you decreased at the beginning of the row. Okay, so what I want you to do now, single crochet all the way up to the top. Wait till you get to your last 2 stitches. Meet me there once you're done and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. I asked you to get to your last 2 stitches and I accidentally did one of them. Don't worry about me. Shh, don't tell them. Get to your last 2 stitches and we're going to single crochet the 2 of them together again. So hook in, pull a loop through into the stitch with your stitch marker, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Remove your stitch marker, chain 1, repeat the last 2 rows one more time. All right, so your job now is to do the last 2 rows we just did one more time. Meet me back here once you're done and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, go ahead and do that now and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, so I asked you to repeat the last 2 rows one more time. So you should be up the top end of your tree skirt. Okay, so we're going to do that very last row, which is 2 together, 1 there and 1 there. So the 2 together as 1 and there you go. Pull up a loop, cut your thread, making sure everything is correct, yeah. And give it a cut. And you're done with that side. Now, before we do anything else, what we're going to do here is weave in our tails. Now, when I was off air, I weaved in most of the tails on purpose to show you just the 1 or 2 real quickly. And these are the more important ones. The ones where, let's try the gold, and I say important because that stitch is relatively small. Oh, that was way too close. Sorry, guys. So that stitch was relatively small. What we want to do, thread your needle like you just saw me doing, and just, we're coming out of this section here. Let's move that out the way. Coming out of this section here, you want to go over it and go through the section again. Making sure you can't see the needle from the front, gorgeous, and just pull that thread through. This is not going to be handled much. You handle it twice in the year, if you think about it. Once before Christmas and once when you pack it away after Christmas. So it's handled twice a year. It's not going to come undone, yeah? It's only when you handle things too much you need to really overweave. So what I want you to do is just grab this red, okay? This red one was the end of the base, I think, from memory. I'll just check in a minute. Pretty sure that it was. Yeah, it's the end of the base, yeah? Or something like that. It doesn't matter. It's a thread nonetheless. Now, the reason I wanted to keep these 2 together is because you've got your white and your red. Your red is better off being weaved up this way, all right? Firstly, it'll be under at the back anyways, so nobody will notice it. Check for the front that you can't see the needle, gorgeous. And secondly, you've got this white that needs to come across this way. So red one way, and again, you don't need to overweave this one at all, not at all, because you've got a long way to weave through. I forgot to check the front, but check the front, yeah? You can do it one more time. I'm not going to for this. No, again, it will not be handled much. But the white one here, you need to be careful and definitely being careful of this one. This one I might leave for you to do up and down there, but this one here is a little tricky. And it's only because it's close to the yellow or gold, I should say, and it's kind of gappy a little bit there. So you want to make sure you go, let's start going this way, down into the stitch. Again, I felt that thickness. Make sure that you can't see the needle from the front. Gorgeous. Make your little tail short. And then go back in the other direction again. Yeah. All right, so that's it for that. I'm going to let you weave that white one in, and I think the rest you know what you're doing as well, except for obviously this last one, which we can do this together. The reason I'm showing you this is because later I'm not going to weave in your other side. You're going to do that on your own. So here, this one here, very simple. Just find a little stitch at the back of your piece, right behind your stitch. It's not even in the stitch, it's behind the stitch, and you pull it back like so. Now, you're actually done with this section. What you need to do now is simply this. Before doing the other side, that side's going to have the buttonholes. So what you want to do is decide, I have to do it this way, I think, where you're going to put your buttonholes. The idea is just to, you don't even need to count. I would just divide them between sections if you like. Let's just put them down for now and then we can play with it. All right, you could use a measuring tape to do this part, yeah. Your buttons should go there. If you've got 5 buttons, I would suggest using the 5. But because I've only, I might have a 5th one somewhere, but I don't think I'll use it. I think this will be okay. Popping them in sections. One goes up the top, one goes on the green, one goes on the red, and one goes on the red down there. Or again, you can measure them. All right, where do they go, I hear you ask? We're going to do one. You can use whatever colour you like. I'm going to use the red for the simple fact that I've got a lot of red left, and there you go. That piece has already been cut. If I'm going to fold that in half and then double, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that's all you need to do. You don't need a lot for this part here at all. So the idea is to make sure your button is centered on the piece. All right, we did 5 rows altogether. So you want to pop it on your 3rd row, or just use your eyes and center it right there. You can do it a little bit low if you like. Not too low, but just low enough for the button to be able to be done up. All right, so let's just pop our, let's get rid of the stitch marker. You don't need that there anymore. Just pop our needle through one of the stitches of the center of your piece. It's not exactly in the center because you've got to do that there and then go over to the next. So it's a little bit further over this way. I'm going to pop the thread through like so. All right. And then just give yourself, I don't know, enough tail for sewing in later, and find a button on one side. That needle wasn't very good. I might have to change it. It doesn't go through the buttonhole. But anyway, it only just went through. And then you want to grab your needle and pop it down the next hole. And then you want to pop your needle, that's where it's coming out of. You want to pop it down a little bit further, because there's a little gap between the button, you know, the holes of the button. All right, so what you've got now is that. So what you need to do is hold the button from now on. Hold the button, go in through, underneath, find the next hole, and I'm going to change this needle later. Being careful not to trap this thread. Hold on to it so you don't go through it. I'll keep this steady. I've moved this around, haven't I? Let's try that again. There. And then pop your final buttonhole like that. But being careful, always hold this tail. It might pay to even hold it right in your hand like that, so you can't go through any part of it. So now you want to go across this way. I'm going to change my needle. All right, so this needle should go through it now, we hope. Oh, we hope, she says. And just going, where are we? We're underneath there. So finding another hole and going across the other side of your 4-hole button. Or if you've just got the 2, go up and down twice. Now we're going to go down that way. Just going to pull that over, and we're going to go into the next top part there. Like that. Yeah. And then we're going to find the button, the base. If I can get it through. There it is. Find the bottom stitch there. Find the bottom hole there. Pull it through, and the bottom hole on the opposite side. Once you've gone through, if it's a 2-hole button, twice. Once you've gone through the 4-hole button twice, which means this way, and then this way and this way, you can now finish off. All right, so what you want to do is tie your button in a knot once, tie it in a knot the second time, and you don't have to worry about there being a thread under here. No one's going to see it. Normally I'd show you a tricky way of how to weave in under here so no one will see the thread on this side, but no one's going to see this. It's going to be on the floor, so you can just weave in and out of the section where your, I just nearly pulled thread there, where your buttonhole is. All right, once, and remember you've knotted it, yeah? Once, and then twice. Because it's been knotted, I'm going to leave that thread there. And what I want you to do is actually reattach your needle and weave this one in through there. All right? And then your job now is to do the same with your other buttons. I would put one there, one near the green, in the center of the green, one in the center of your red up the top, center of your green down here, and the center there. That's where I would put them. All right. So in the center row, which is, we did 5 rows here, just find the 3rd row and pop it in the section, in the center, and then pop it in the center, and then pop it in the center. With the top and the bottom button, if you want to pop it high, you can. I reckon the center's fine. All right. So go ahead and attach these buttons the same way we did the very first one here. Meet me back here once you're done, and we will do the buttonhole side of our tree skirt. Alrighty guys, now that we have our buttons on, we're going to work on the opposite side. So with the opposite side, we're going to start from the top of our work. All right, we want to start on the right side of our work, so we're going to start from the top. And we don't have a thread attached here. We've got a tail which we can weave in later. We're going to be putting 2 together in here. So you need to get into the very, very top. It's going to be a bit awkward because that's where our chain section is. See if you can get your hook in that very, very top stitch there. That's where we want to be. We're going to put that stitch and the very next stitch together, all in that same section. Don't stress about it yet. Just pop your thread over your hook and pull that loop through like so. Passing your tail forward. Chain 1. Back into the same stitch with, start your single crochet, pass your tail at the back, jump into the space right there, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Place your stitch marker there. That's your first stitch. Remember, it's taking up 1 section where you should actually have 2, but we're doing 1 because we want this to come down. All right, so let's do the next row, and that is, you've got your single in your small part of the stitch, and a single in your larger space of the stitch. So single 1 and 2. So that's actually 3 single crochets across, yeah? Single into the tight stitch there, 1, and single into the big space, 2. That's 5. Single into your tight stitch, 1, single into the big space, 2, that's 7, yeah? Single into your small space, grab your tail, pass it at the back, pull through, and then single in your large space, that is going to be 9 because we have decreased up the top, yeah? So now you want to single in between the white there, so you pop your single in the red and the white together, pass it at the back, do 1 single there and 1 in your white. Remember, we have 4 single crochets to do across here, so that's 2. 1 into the next small stitch, grab your white tail at the back, single crochet, that 1, and then single into your second. So now we're at the yellow. We're going to pop our hook into the yellow. You can pass your tail at the back like that if you want. Yes, if I can get it right. And complete your single crochet in the yellow. And then you want to start into your white. I'm going to start into the base of the yellow, 1, and into the white, 2. So that's your first white. We're going to do your second white. So 1 into the small stitch and 1 into the big space. And there's your 4 single crochets across. So you have 5 rows of double crochet and you want to place your 10 single crochets across. And then what you need here, you've got 1, 2, 3 and your single crochet. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Don't forget this is the base. So what we want to do here for the base, we went into there for 6. But on the other side, I got you to put a stitch marker on a center single crochet. We won't be doing that here. Instead, what we're going to do is 1 single crochet into that stitch marker right there, which if you think about it is that extra single crochet. Hard to explain. It just gives you that extra length down the base. All right. But let's not worry about that. Let's worry about the fact that everything's done. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to keep going. Chain 1. Don't you like that? We're not worrying. We're just going to keep going. You're doing what you were doing before with a single crochet in your first stitch because this is the base of your work, so you're not decreasing on this section. Single crochet in every stitch all the way across. Don't do the last 2 stitches because we're going to do those 2 together as one. All right, so single crochet in every stitch all the way across. Get to, oh, where is it? I've lost it. It's over here. Hello. get to your very last stitch here. Meet me there once you're done and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so I asked you to do your single crochets all the way across. Ignore my stitch markers here for a moment. I'll explain that to you in a minute. But for now, we're just going to continue doing our single crochets across. When you get to the top, remember the top edge here, we are decreasing. So we're doing 2 together. So start your single crochet in your second last stitch and finish it in your last stitch. So pull a loop through and you should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all those 3 loops there. Remove your stitch marker, chain 1, hold it there for a minute. Just pop a stitch marker in here like so. All right, so why do I have stitch markers here? Because this next row we're going to make the buttonholes for our buttons. So what you need to do now is decide where your buttonholes are going to go. What I did, to be fair, I counted actually, the stitches from the base and I worked my way up. I started from the base because the top has to be decreased, yeah? So I went from the base and worked my way up. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly around 4 and 5 is where I put my first stitch marker. And that's what I've done. Okay, I think I put it on the 4th stitch. So it's around that section there. When we're ready to do our buttonholes, you will be able to marry them up as you're going along. All right, that's how I did it. And then I did the same thing. I calculated this part to here was 20. This part to here was less and this part to here was less. But that doesn't matter. Count the stitches from the center of your button to the center of the next button. So the stitch from the center of the button to the center of the next button, yeah? And then the center of the button there to the center of your top button. So you'll notice that my stitch marker is way down here when my top area is up here. And so that's going to change because we're decreasing as we go along, all right? So don't stress too much about that. It will change. So place the button, your stitch markers, on the areas where your buttons are. Gorgeous. And before you do anything else, we're going to continue the top part. Well, once you've got your buttonholes, your stitch markers where the buttonholes are going to be, then this is what you need to do. You chain 1, you turn your work. You are doing your single crochet 2 together. Start from the stitch you're in, pull a loop through. Into the next one, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops, add your stitch marker there. If you can. If you can, yeah? All right, so, and from here you're going to single into your next. Sorry about the sun coming in and out there, guys. Single into your next. That was very dramatic, wasn't it? And single into your very next. When you get here, remove that stitch marker. Now this depends on the size of your buttons. All right, we're just going to start by chaining 1, skipping 1 and going into the next stitch with a single crochet. Leave that space there for a minute and single crochet the next, 3 or 4 stitches. We're going to see if our button goes through that little space there. All right, so lift it up, go over to the other side where your button is. Let's bring this out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Let's pretend those tails aren't there. So find your buttonhole, which was there, right there. Can you see that big gap there? Pop your finger in there and just go over to your button and make sure that your button, I have a funny feeling these won't, goes through here. If they don't go through here, you need to, oh no, that's okay. That'll do. I was going to say you need to make a second chain, all right, or single crochet if you will. You need to chain 2 spaces instead of 1 if your button does not go in. It's a little tight, but I'm going to leave it that tight. Yeah, I'm going to leave it that tight because if it's too loose, it'll come undone and you don't want that. All right, but you may need to do 2 spaces. So what you do is you single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, and then single crochet along. All right, so that's if you've got a bigger button than I have. If it's a smaller one than I have, what you do is you don't chain. you just single crochet in the first space, skip the next stitch and single crochet in your next space. All right, that's if your button is smaller. All right, and that's pretty much it. All you're doing is single crocheting across until you get to your next button. Get to your stitch marker stitch. Just before it, stop, chain 1, remove your stitch marker. Skip 1, single crochet into your next. All right, it's as simple as that. Single crocheting across and repeat until the end. I'm not going to show you anymore. I would like for you to do that. All you need to do is single crochet all the way across, get to the buttonhole, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet to the next one, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet until the end. When you get to the end, meet me there once you're done and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, once you get to the end of your row, get excited. That was the difficult part of your pattern. That's it. Very simple, huh? You're going to do a single crochet in your final stitch. This is the base of your stitch, so all you're doing is doing a normal single crochet in there. Chain 1, flip your work, and single crochet back into that stitch again. Remember, it's the base of your work, so you don't need to do any decreasing in this one. Like so. And you single crochet until you get to that buttonhole section. I think I've got one more stitch right there. Gorgeous. And I can see the big gap right there. All I'm going to do is pop a single crochet around the chain. That's the chain 1 that we did before. That's your buttonhole. Single into your next stitch, single into the next, and so on, all the way across until you get to your next buttonhole. Probably the best thing you could have done was place stitch markers in your buttonhole, but that's all right. What we're going to do now quickly is just grab one of the buttons. Doesn't matter which one, I just want to make sure it works. There's your buttonhole. And make sure your button fits gorgeously. All right, so mine fits perfect. So what we're going to do real quickly is get to that second buttonhole. All right, so I got a bit excited and I went single all the way across, but right there I've come across my chain space. So if that was a problem for you, you could have actually placed stitch markers there. Left a little disclaimer up the top saying place stitch markers if you're not sure where to find your buttonholes later. But really all you're doing is a single crochet over that chain 1 space and a single in your next, and so on and so forth all the way across the row. I don't need to show you anymore. All right, what I want for you to do now is single crochet all the way across the row. Remember, when you get to your buttonhole, it's a single crochet over the chain space. So single crochet in the single crochet before the buttonhole, single crochet over the chain space, and then single crochet in your next single crochet all the way across until you get to the last 2 stitches here. Don't do those last 2 stitches. Meet me there because we're going to have a decrease. All right, so go ahead and complete the rest of that row and I'll meet you here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this row. Get excited. Get way too excited. And I'll explain why. First, we're going to do our last 2 stitches together. That single crochet 2 together as normal. I almost said double there, but it's a single. Chain 1, flip your work. I'm going to flip it this way because it's been twisted. It's been twisted a million times. And it's so big now, so it's hard to hold it up. All right. So in that very first stitch, you're going to do 2 together for the final time. So single crochet 1 and 2 together like so. Pop your stitch marker. Oh, you don't really need it, but we'll pop it in there just for fun. Why do you not need it? Because this, guys, is your final row. Single crochet all the way across your piece. You don't have to worry about the buttonholes anymore because they have been done, wherever they are. Wherever they are. It's so hard to see them. There you go. There's one. All right. So single crochet, super easy row. All you're doing is single crocheting all the way across the row. Meet me there once you're done and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of our final row. Get excited. Single into your last stitch there. Remove that stitch marker. Pull up a long loop if you like for weaving in. It doesn't matter how big your loop is, just for weaving in purposes. I've pulled up enough to weave in half a house there. And then over here, what I want you to do, I've actually weaved in all my ends here. All right. So what I want you guys to do is to go up to the top and you'll find this little tail here. I've weaved in the first end, but this tail belongs to this work right here. Our very first double crochet or chains, if you will. So I wanted to show you this one because it's a little tricky. All right, the rest you can weave in yourself. That other one you can weave in yourself too. But this one here, I just wanted to show you the tail's up here. You want to go into the stitch right before it. Or if you were smart enough to put yours at the back in the beginning, that would have been good, but I didn't. So just go into the stitch right before it. Turn it over the other way, the wrong side. This is the wrong side. The right side is where we've got our front posts, yeah? So turn it this way and find some stitches. I'm not even in frame. Come on, Mary, get it right. And find some stitches to go down. I went down some of the post of that post that I'm in. I'm going to go into some threads here. Oh, by the way, you should be checking the front that you can't see your work. But I'm doing that behind the front post. Now, if you wanted to, now you're going to cut this, if you wanted to, you could also do a row of single crochets across the top. And again, this isn't necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just find on the button side of your work, just find the top stitch right there, and it's easy to find. Grab a piece of thread, and if you want to use a different colour, you can. I'm just going to stick to the red. And just pull a loop through. Pass your tail forwards, a very quick section here. Chain 1 and single crochet into that stitch. You know how to do that. We did them with the buttonholes and the button side. I'm going to crochet over that tail. Single crochet into each stitch across. Now this has kind of like spaces if you think about it. You could either go into the stitch or you can go right down there. I'm going to go into the stitch first and see what it looks like. No, I'll go straight into that space right there, the whole space, like so. Pass your tail at the back now. I'm going to weave that in later and just keep going across into the stitches. So just keep going all the way in the round, gorgeous, like so. If you can find the little spaces there and there. This is all in the way, so it's hard for you to see what I'm doing here. Sorry, guys. Let's try it like that. There we go. You can see the spaces in between the stitches. We're going to go into the spaces, but we're also going to go into the stitch as well. So we've gone into a space. We're going to go into the stitch with a single crochet and then into the space. Into the stitch. It'll be a little bit tight for sure, but just keep going across like so. It just gives it a tiny little bit of a stretch as well, but it also neatens up the edge as well, all right? It's going to take me forever. So what I want you to do, I'll grab a stitch marker and I'll pop it, I'll show you where I'll pop it. Go over to the buttonhole side and I want you to place that on the very last front post stitch section, and then we'll do the rest together. All right, just pop a stitch marker there. Let me bring that out. Oh, the sun's come out. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. So single crochet all the way in the row, get to this stitch marker right here. Meet me there once you're done, and then let's finalize our tree skirt. Alrighty guys, here we are, and I said to get to your stitch marker, and I'm just going to remove this stitch marker for a minute. Gorgeous. And you need to place a single crochet before your front post and a single crochet in the tight stitch. Did you find the stitches really tight? I did. I was fighting with them. In the stitch of your front post, in the space after the front post, into the stitch of your next stitch. Now you might find this really tight if you've weaved in ends in there, and it's possible I've weaved in ends, but we'll see. I'm just going to put it straight through the actual stitch. And then in the space after the stitch, and then I think with this one, oh no, we can get in the stitch if we try really hard. Otherwise we might just go around that stitch. Oh no, we're in. It was a bit awkward, but we're there. And for the rest, I think we'll just go into every stitch that you see, like so. All right, and around a space, whatever you can see, just go through. I can see little spaces there. If you stretch it, you can find a space. That's a real big one. I don't know whether to just go over that. There you go, that's fine. I'm going to do it in this space. I think it's better like that. Pull up your loop and give it a cut. All right, so I've got your scissors. Give it a cut right there. Obviously, you've left yourself a little bit of tail for weaving in. And this is probably one spot that you can actually just sew your thread into that small section if you wanted to. So we could try that if you like. I reckon that's a really good idea, to bring the thread down there into that stitch like that. Oh, that works even better, yeah? So I don't know if you saw that. It just goes into that top. Let's get a nice close-up. That's where the stitch is, and it's right next to it. There's a little bit of a tiny bit of a bump there. If you pop your thread through there, don't pull too tight. Bring it back up into the stitch like so. Yep. And then you want to go into the stitch after it very gently. Yep. And all it's done is it's straightened up your edge. That's what we wanted. And the actual idea of doing this stitch was to straighten up this section here. Can look a little bumpy, yeah, with the way we went down on the single crochets for the buttonholes. And we're done. Cut your thread, give it a gentle tug, and it falls into place. And what you have is this. Ta-da! And there you have it, guys. That is our gorgeous tree skirt, all done, finished, exciting, very exciting, ready for Christmas gifts to go under. How gorgeous is that? Now you can use the buttons on one of the legs, or you can pop the buttons at the back. Wherever you want to do yours is entirely up to you. And how gorgeous are these colours? Once again, a very special thank you to the lovely Beverley for her colour choice in today's tutorial. My name is Mary, and this is Wow Crochet Designs. Merry Christmas and have a wonderful New Year.